Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge. Doing a lot of doubles at work, so just have to bear with me here. The Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge. Thus have I heard. Once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajagriha, Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a great gathering of a Sangha of monks and a great gathering of the Sangha of Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi that expresses the Dharma called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, while practicing the profound Prajnaparamita, saw in this way. He saw the 5 skandhas to be empty of nature. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son or daughter of noble family train who wishes to practice the profound Prajnaparamita? Addressed in this way, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, said to Venerable Shariputra, O Shariputra, a son or daughter of noble family who wishes to practice the profound Prajnaparamita should see in this way. Seeing the 5 skandhas to be empty of nature. Form is emptiness, emptiness also is form. Emptiness is no other than form, form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are emptiness. Thus, Shariputra, all dharmas are emptiness. There are no characteristics. There is no birth and no cessation. There is no impurity and no purity. There is no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no dharmas, no I dhatu up to no mind dhatu, no dhatu of dharmas, no mind consciousness dhatu, ignorance, no end of ignorance up to no old age and death, no end of old age and death, no suffering, no origin of suffering, no cessation of suffering, no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since the Bodhisattvas have no attainment, they abide by means of Prajnaparamita. Since there is no obscuration of mind, there is no fear, they transcend falsity and attain complete nirvana. All the Buddhas of the 3 times by means of Prajnaparamita fully awaken to unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra Prajnaparamita, mantra, insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequal mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering should be known as truth since there is no deception. Prajnaparamita mantra is said in this way. Te ata om gate gate paragate parasangati bodhi soha. Thus Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound Prajnaparamita. And the Blessed One arose from that Samadhi, his noble Avalokiteshvara saying, good, good, O son of noble family, thus it is, O son of noble family, thus it is. One should practice the profound Prajnaparamita just as you have taught, and all the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, the whole assembly of the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Chandara Samaraya Vede Adang Ade Gade Paragade Parasangade Buddhizo Baba Konju Sanji Kai Deme Doji Je Badaji Me Badaji Je Wadaji Dagi Baji Me Lumbi Judanji Yeninga Yezo Gere Andonya Je Jo Je Wada Do no be na ne wa da do ba jun yi bon zon zon yo yi na yi de ya ne na le The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. Holy Lamas high, wrap the sky of your Dharma bodies in massive clouds of knowledge and love. Let them pour upon the earth of your disciples as we are ready, a shower of rain, teachings deep and wide. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. Yedam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niratayami. Shadan Jaye Janam La Janjo Badu Dani Yazoji. Nagi Janye Jibe Zanam Ye Rala Ben Ye Zanye Revaryo Yadan Zaji Yonam La Janjo Badu Dani Yazoji Nagi Janye Jibe Zanam Ye Rala Ben Ye Zanye Revaryo Yadan Zayi Yanam La Janjo Badu Dani Yazuji Nagi Janye Yibe Zonam Je Rala Ben Ye Zanye Revaryo. So again, we will be looking at Lama Tsongkhapa's great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment. That is a commentary on Atisha's text called The Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment.
지부 중문랑 딩랑 지부 침비랑 손데 호텔랑 저자도 어디 말이야.
So the meaning of this text is summarized in the introductory section of Atisha's Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, where he states that understand that there are persons of three capacities, small, middling, and great. I shall write clearly identifying their characteristics. So just in 2 sentences, he summarizes the entire content of the material to come. And what this is referring to is the pathways the pathways for persons of three capacities, the pathways for beings of small capacity, the pathways for beings of medium capacity, and the pathways for beings of great capacity. So this is what this is referring to.
동해 bombe 타발로야랑 안에 샤주고 생활해서 어떻게 대바 챔비랑 어떤 상지기 추도 마드바 이나와도 손되니 잠만봐 든들랑 타빌랑 상지고 본투비랑 손되니 잠만봐.
So these pathways lead to different results. The pathways that are shared in common with beings of small capacity are pathways which lead to the higher realms of the gods and humans and so forth. The pathways for beings of medium capacity or shared in common with beings of medium capacities are those pathways which lead to liberation, lead to the abandonment of suffering. And one engages in the 3 highest higher trainings, and by doing so achieves a state of liberation where there is an abandonment of suffering. And then the pathways for beings of great capacity are those pathways which lead to unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment. And those pathways require one to engage in not only those higher trainings, but unite them with the mind that aspires to enlightenment or bodhicitta. And by doing so, one is able to achieve a complete Buddhahood. So these are the 3 different pathways, those pathways which lead to higher realms, those pathways which lead to liberation, and those pathways which lead to Buddhahood. So in the Tibetan language, we have 100 of the pronouncement of texts that are the authentic pronouncements of Lord Buddha, and we have 213 authentic Indian commentaries. And if we were to look at the content of all of those great texts, we would be able to summarize them into 3 specific pathways. Those pathways for beings of small capacity, which lead to the higher realms, those pathways for medium capacity, which lead to liberation, and those pathways for beings of great capacity that lead to Buddhahood. So the text, The Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, is a summary of all of the pronouncements of Lord Buddha in the authentic Indian commentaries, and it's compared to a great ocean that collects the stream of all of the excellent classics and summarize them into 3 specific pathways. So who are we referring to when we are speaking of the authentic Indian commentary? Who are the commentators? We're referring to such pandits such as the ones we see on the wall here, such as Nagarjuna and Lord Asanga, the Nalanda masters that we have the 213 texts of. And as a note, we have the 17 Nalanda Masters commentary, tankas here that were given to the center by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And on these the tankas, you'll find that there's Chinese language, Tibetan language, English, and Sanskrit, and Sanskrit. So you can read them in any of those languages, and it'll give the details of each pandit.
What day is that? Dendri long, tapi long, Sanji go to long to Kangalo, Sentient Samal Yuaris, Sentient Samal Sanji Greek Chaduare, Sentient Samal Sanjia Yuaris, and the Sentient Samal Sanji Rios at the Reed Shosana, and then also Miki Sheba, Nai Sheba, Nai Sheba, G Sheba, Lucy Sheba, Easy Sheba, Tugu, Nana, two, Easy Sheba Tula, what the Easy Sheba don't do so about that to Kangalo, Jenju Gris. And then I was talking to Nachin Taji Chamberchak, Junda, what they but that to Galo Deva Maduba, should to Deva Maduba Yinza, and then send Deva Maduba there, Rajin editors. This Haji to do Chukur in the Maduba, send the Ishijugo, and then send it to Moni Kuchano.
So all sentient beings will arrive at these three pathways, these pathways which lead to the higher realms, the pathways which lead to liberation, and those pathways which lead to complete Buddhahood. And all sentient beings will do so because all sentient beings possess Buddha potential or Buddha nature. And if we were to posit this Buddha potential or posit this Buddha nature, we would look towards the consciousnesses. And there are 6 types of consciousness: eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, tactile consciousness, and mental consciousness. And when we're referring to the Buddha potential or Buddha nature, we're referring to the mental consciousness. And 2 specific points about that mental consciousness. The first is that the mental consciousness has the potential to achieve the state of omniscience, or the state of all-knowing. And this is the Tathagata essence of the mental continuum. This is the essence, the mental consciousness that we possess has this essence. Chu the sem gitseni lapsoen. Okay. So this mental consciousness has this potential. Among consciousnesses, the mental consciousness is the chief because it can obtain all of these levels and obtain the state of omniscience. And also, the fact that the mental consciousness is not truly established, it has no inherent existence. That lack of true establishment also provides that potential, or Buddha potential, or Buddha nature. So this lack of true establishment is what transforms into the Dharmakaya. If we look at the 2 truth bodies of the Buddha, there is the truth body that is the natural truth body, or the truth body which is the cessations, which is the permanent, not truly established truth body that abides in cessation, and then the omniscience truth body, which is an all-knowing state. And this mental consciousness transforms into those. And all sentient beings possess this potential and will arrive at all of those goals.
So when
we speak of Buddha potential, we're speaking of the positive the positive mental states. So when we're not speaking of the mistaken views of the mental consciousness or the mind, such as attachment or hatred, all of these fall into wrong consciousness or mistaken view. When we speak of the Buddha potential, we're speaking of correct view, such as the mind that aspires to enlightenment.
조금 좀 받는 비전 제법 치와 아디샤 나한테 말봐 당말로 고바지 주지 치와 또 안나 랑드다 어떤 게 주지 치와
맞아.
전에 저완이된 출연 예시제 다 저완이던 때비 랑드라서 무슨 걸로 안에 시행 간다시 우리 얘기 가는
맞아.
예시바 담보군지 로마지 다트에서 what about Shiva Dambangunchi Romaji Tatre Matele Marba? Shiva Dambangunchi Romaji Tatre Matala, largest of Asheni Tempi Sudan, then the Lucha Jan Rivani, then that Sheni Tensu to Tachi, that then the Lucha Jan Ribatala, Ni Marbe, Tayutan Himmel Kua, Himmel Sungoji, or Tayutan Himmel Kua Chinsaro, Tawag was one, Joint Sama. never call some chinsarwa.
That's it.
That Hibbleland Sungo timber, Hibbleland Sungo de la Nachi Naja and Nabajibatan, Hibbleland Sungo Nije, Naji Najajibatala, the Nindimba. And Sora Tajibusum Naja Banduris, and the Jibusum Jugun, the tribute you say, and such a Jujin was the Geshe Lharampa. 단 해블란 중국 가도래 해블란 중국 해블란 중국 들리지 중국도 통로 나지래 반디도 통로 나지래 봐 집이 나지래 봐송 와데 다른 아주 어떤 말 해야 돼
맞아
루루시잖아
Okay, so the Lama Tsongkhapa's text begins with an outline of the content to come. And the outline first begins with the liberation life story of Lord Atisha, and this is called the greatness of the teacher. The second category is the greatness of the teaching itself, and this is referring to the greatness of Atisha's lamp for the path to enlightenment, the greatness, and shows all the greatnesses of it. The third section deals with the great way to listen to and explain the teaching. And this section deals with how the teacher should give the actual instruction, the proper way, and the proper way for those participating in the teaching, those listening to the instruction, how he or she should conduct him or herself when listening to the teaching. So that has the two categories from the side of the teacher teaching and the student listening. And then the fourth section is how to lead students in the actual instructions. And that's the section that we're currently in. And in that section, how to lead students through the actual instructions, it begins with how to rely upon the teacher, that is the root of the path. And then after that, it's what one does after one has relied upon that spiritual advisor. So we've completed the how to rely upon the teacher, that is the root of the path. And now we're in the section that deals with what to do once one has relied upon the teacher. So then, after that, there are two categories under that heading. The first is the exhortation to take full advantage of a life of leisure and opportunity. So we've gone through that exhortation, which has the identification of leisure and opportunity, as well as the great importance of life of leisure and opportunity and the difficulty of obtaining the life of leisure and opportunity. And then the next section, after the exhortation, it shows how to take full advantage of the life of leisure and opportunity. And under that, there's a couple of categories. How to develop certain knowledge of a general presentation of the path, and then how to actually take full advantage of leisure and opportunity. And within that, you find how all the scriptures are included within the three types of persons, and why students are led in stages using the trainings of three capacities. So the purpose and the actual reason for students being led in this way. So we've gone over that how to develop certain knowledge of the general presentation of the path. And the next section, which is still under the heading how to take advantage of life of leisure and opportunity, deals with the actual way to take advantage of life of leisure and opportunity. And then it begins with the training in the stages of the path shared in common with persons of three capacities. And then After that, it shows the training in the mind and the stage of the path shared in common with persons of medium capacity, and then training the mind and the stages of the path for beings of great capacity. So we're currently in that section now, beginning with training the mind and the stages of the path shared in common with beings of small capacity. Okay. I'll let you know in one moment once we get started. The section begins on 129. The actual section itself is the 3 types of persons. Hold on one second. 144, sorry.
Yeah,
So it's page 144, by the way, where the outline is. So the person of small capacity does begin on that 128, but the section that we're in right now is on 144. So I looked at it quickly and gave the page number, so I apologize for that. So it begins with an outline of the content to come. So it begins with training the mind in the stages of the path shared with persons, shared in common with persons of small capacity, then training the mind in the stages of the path shared with persons of medium capacity, then training the mind in the stages of the path for persons of great capacity. So this is the order that the text will explain the information in. And then it begins with the training the mind in the stages of the path shared with persons of three capacities. And there are three sections here. So if one understands these three sections very well and listens very well, then one will have an understanding of what the path shared in common with persons of small capacity is referring to. So if one understands all of this, then one will understand the pith or the essence of that pathway. So it begins with the actual training of thought for a person of small capacity. So what is the thought? What is the mental state of a person of small capacity? This is a mental state that looks towards one's future life and wishes to abandon rebirth in the lower realms of the hell, hungry ghost and animal, and wishes to achieve rebirth in the higher realms of the gods and the humans. So the desire or the thought of a person of small capacity is to have a rebirth in the higher realms. So he or she is looking towards his or her future life and figuring out how to create that experience of a higher realm rebirth. So this is the thought for a person of small capacity, because he or she dislikes the lower realms, so that's the thought, and likes the higher realms. So this is the other part of the thought. So this is the first part. The next is the measure of the attitude of a person of small capacity. So what qualifies that attitude as being an attitude of a person of small capacity? What is the qualification of an attitude of that type of person? And this, if we look at the qualification of a person of medium capacity, and we look in Lama Tsongkhapa's three principles paths, where it speaks of day and night, not a moment, it says by constant meditation your mind will not entertain a moment's wish even for the successes of life, and you will aim for freedom all day and night. Then you experience transcendent renunciation. So here we could apply this same idea to the small capacity. If day and night one is wishing to be free from the lower realms and wishing to achieve experience of the higher realms, then this is the measure of that thought. This is what qualifies that attitude as an attitude of a person of small capacity. Then ni lapsar, the lotu gaba lama son. And then the third deals with clearing up misconceptions concerning the attitude of a person of small capacity. And we'll deal with those actual misconceptions that are dealt with later on down in the text when we get to them.
와다 당아주 집이 중국 가돌도 그래서 중국 가돌들다 전세 아만다도 송래도 나가 집이 중국 상바장 상바도 집이 체 달라로도 가봐 도송도 야분 내외나 아니 갈래 올마고 제시 용주되는 땜부 차는
So if one listens very well, or like almost holds on to this information very well, and referring to the actual training of the thought of a person of small capacity, the measure of the attitude of a person of small capacity, and the clearing up misconceptions concerning the attitude of a person of small capacity, then this creates a very stable, firm understanding from which to go on or move to proceed.
Jiten Shema Dunya Lu Cheba Dance, Jiten Shema de Totem was Hajini Rendua. Jibu Jungu Samba Jang, Jiten Shema Dunya Lu Cheba Dance, Jibu Jungu Samba Jang, Jiten Shema Dunya Lu Chea Rendua. Lai Tenzan Tuna, May Tenzan Tuna Yamazan Juro, what the Sanlu de Jamba, Sanlu de Nyalan Cheba, the Sanlu de Yana and Damatella, Jibu. Chung Samba Jong Remdue. What is it? Jiden Shama, Dunya Lu Cheba Dan, Jiden Shama di Totem Bas. Jiden Shama, Java Shama Yobaina, Java Shama to get the one to Maris. And then Java Shama to get the one to do, and then the walk Jukar do Wars. Jiden Shama di Totem Bas. What things are Marbeni.
So the next, the actual training of thought for a person of small capacity, there's two divisions to that. Developing a state of mind that strives diligently for the sake of future lives and relying on the means for achieving happiness in the next life. So first, developing a state of mind that strives diligently for the sake of future lives. It is developing this state of mind that is always striving at all times and only striving to achieve higher realm rebirth in one's future life. So only wanting to achieve rebirth as a god or as a human. So thinking of this, only thinking of this again and again and again, or over and over and over. So one is contemplating again and again and again this desire to have this future life in the higher realms. So this is the state of mind that one is striving, developing a state of mind that makes one strive for this. So that's the first point. And then it says relying on the means for achieving happiness in the next life. So if future lives do exist, then we will want to be happy in them just as we wish for happiness in this life. We will desire to have happiness in the future just as we do now. So what causes that? How do we go towards the cause of that happiness? What do we do in order to create that result which we desire? So what is the method for achieving this happiness which we will want because we currently do, and our future life we will want to have the same types of experiences?
다집을 중국 사바죠. 아무들은 지대 셔마 되니 질로 제바 나 지대 셔마 되 터된 거니 된도. 지대 셔마서는 저와 셔마 말이야. 저와 셔마 말이야. 지대 셔마 되니 질로 제바 송도 지대 셔마 하다메 저와 셔마 하다메 내가 또 나냐베 상로도 장하이지로다. 지대 셔마 저와 셔마 하다메 내가 또 나냐베 상로도 루정제 거래스 말이야. 지대 다 저와 셔마 다 저와 하마 요하래 저와 셔마 요하래 나서 저와 하마 주비다 한다다 저와 셔마 주비다 그걸로 어디 내도에는데 때문도 없어. 저와 셔마 맨나 저와 셔마 되니 줄로 장하게 말어. 지든 셔마 디 터대하게 말어. 저와 셔마 요하래 저와 하마 요하래스 어디 저와 하마 주비다 한다다 저와 셔마 주비다 한다도 상로
So here we're developing a state of mind that strives diligently for the sake of future lives, looking towards here future lives. Rinpoche was kind of going over, it's already been made into the same meaning in English, but just going over future lives, future births, these are all mean the same thing. So our future life, next life, future birth, these all mean the same thing. So relying on the means for achieving happiness in the next life, in the future birth, in our rebirth. So this is what it's referring to, next life. And there are various, in order for us to even begin, we have to establish the existence of previous lives and establish this, the existence of future lives, or future lives will exist. So we can do so by utilizing various perfect reasons or correct signs, and we can come to the conclusion that there are previous and future lives, and then it's possible to proceed with this state of mind that strives diligently for the sake of future lives and rely on the means for achieving happiness in the next life. So it's first one must kind of establish past and future lives through means of analysis and correct signs, and then strive diligently for the sake and rely on the method for achieving happiness in that next life. And that happiness is referring to, in this context, rebirth in the higher realms of gods and humans. So that's what this, in this context, happiness is referring to. Kanga.
지대 셔마 되니 질리 집어다 지대 셔마 데이터 때문에 어디서 연구가 아유스 좋아.
네.
하그즈바 되네. 코시즈는 하그즈바 되네. 해니 해도다. 요시 또 어떻게 그걸로 하고 주버서나 이제 셔마 되네 로제바다 셔마디 터대버서 용고
So in the Christian, in the Hindu tradition, there is the idea that there is a creator God. Would they have these 2 points of developing a state of mind that strives diligently for the sake of future lives and relying on the means for achieving happiness in the next life? Maybe, maybe not. Which is just putting a question out there with a creator God theory. Do these apply to that? And there wasn't really an answer. It was just kind of a, do they have it or not?
It was a debasa on the and the God heaven
So Christians state that by accumulating misdeeds one goes to hell, and by accumulating virtue one goes to heaven.
That number is John Hama Yuari. John Hama Yobasa was a Toma Mabaris, Joa Shema Yuare, Jema Shaman Tayo Maris. What the Nishinata, Jidin Shema the Jidin Shema to Samba Jamata, Jidin Shema the talking about the
Buddhists believe that we have previous lives, a previous life and a life before that, and that our lives or our births are beginningless. And Buddhists also believe that our future lives are endless. So this is the first necessary establishment first necessary establishment for one to be able to move on and develop a state of mind that strives diligently for the sake of future lives and rely on the means for achieving happiness in the next life. So the beginning point is establishing past and future lives. So it's good for us to be able to look at other religious traditions and Jawa, and look at them together and see what applies, how they apply to each other, or looking at them and applying and looking at their similarities and differences. But there's a word for that. I just don't know the exact word, but it's looking at their similarities and differences.
Jawa Shama and Tachiwa Shama the Maris, the Wadobaina, and the Wajukaris, Jidin Shama the Totemas, Jidin Shamal the Wal Gabiyotan, Jidin Shamal the Wayage, and the Tokar Jukaris, Totemas, what is Marba.
So here where it's speaking of relying on the means for achieving happiness is saying, what's the method? What is the cause for happiness? There are only 2 places one can be reborn, the higher realms or the lower realms. And if one wishes to have the happiness of the higher realms, what causes that happiness? What is the method? What is the means for achieving it? So this is what the second point is referring to, the means of achieving happiness. Happiness here referring to the rebirth in the higher realms of the gods and humans.
Jiden the Rindu Meneba, Chewa Jesu Temba Samba Dance Jije. Then Jiden Shema Chetarju and Wadi Dudu Sambas, was Sajini would Jiden Shema. Jiden Sheba to Samba Shama, the Jiden the Rindu Meneba, Chewa Jesu Tembas, Chewa Matabas on Tahad Marbe. Jiden the Rindu Meneba and Chewa Jesu Tembas, Mataba. Jubu Shigre, somebody, San Luz Kogores. Jiden the Rindu Meneba, Chewa Jesu Temba dance, Temba Samba dance, Marbe. Jide Shema, Jide Chewa Shema Jetaju, Dundu Tangandugi, Dungandul Jena Dungayungre, Dundul Jena Dewa Yungres. What again? Dundu Dungata and the Dundu Dewata and Dunga. What is it for Marba to quit shit Marba? Jiden to Rindu Meneba, Chewa Jesu Temba Samba, Madaba Marba, Kazonga Shinsaro. Jiden Shema Jetaju, Jiden Chewa Shema Yoba in a Chewa Shema Yoris, and Chewa Shema and Sattler Dundutang and Chewa Ni Yoris, Marba. Nandul Jena Dunga Yoris, Dundul Jena Dewayungres, with the Jiden Shema, Roani Tutu Sambas, what the Marbe. Nasu doing a soya. Didn't you do a parents on what the name Marbe?
Then a tambo the Ju Rimbo Degamari, the Nangla Irbe.
Jide Shema Dunish, Sanlo Chevas, Pomberoa. What the Niro. Jiden the Ring to Maneba, Chewa Jesurim, Tamba Sambas. Jide Shema Dunya, Katasan Town Warsana, and then also Masset Junior Material Sugaris. Shizuna, the Chewa Shema Mena, and the son Junkayo Marte, Chewa Shema Yuaris. Chewa Shema de la, Chewa Lesa de la Dudutang.
Okay, Selbudu.
What the Duduta Nasun Jena, Dungayo, Dendul Jena, Doyuris, Dudus, all things in Marbe.
So developing a state of mind that strives diligently for the sake of future lives. And then there are, this is explained with two parts. Mindfulness of death, so recognizing impermanence of death. So first is the recognition of the fact that one will die, and the contemplation that one will not remain long in this world. So there's the mindfulness of the death, and then the recognition that one will die soon or will not remain long in this world. And then the next part deals with contemplating what will occur in your future life, the happiness or suffering of the two types of beings. So happiness referring to the happiness of the higher realm beings of the gods and humans. Again, the aim here referring to the aim of the small scope practitioner. So the happiness of the gods and the humans. Or suffering, referring to the suffering of the lower realm beings of the hell, hungry ghost, and animals. So the two types of beings are referring to the beings of the higher realms and lower realms. Higher realms being the happiness realms in this case, and the lower realms being the suffering realms. So it goes from the understanding of death and the contemplation that one will not remain long, and then recognition of in future lives there are two possible experiences, higher realms and lower realms.
Tajide Shema Redu Maneba, Chewa Jesu Temba Samba Teletene, Saji Jung, Jimarbe, Saji, Tombola Jes, Chewa Temba Magumbi Yemi, Chewa Temba Magumbi Yemi. Gombi Pen and Chewa Dembi Lojeta, Chetabushi Chebas, Chewa Demba Gombi Sajishan Marbe. Sendering to Maneba, Chewa Jesu Temple Samba de la Sajishi Doja. And then Tachewa Mataba, Chewa Mataba, San Matama, Nemi waters, Gay waters. Madaba Gongi in a pen yours, Chowatama Magumbi Yemi, Gombi pen, and then Gombi pen Marba, Chowatambi Luchetabushi Chebas, and then Chowa Madaba Temple San Lu Candes down waters, Lut Candes Chiggers, Somba Treba. That Chowatamba Gombi Swiss, Chowatamba Gombi, Chow Madaba Gombi Swiss. What? Saji did was Marba. Chewa Damba Magum Kazanji Chin Saro, Chewa Damba Magum Yemi, Chewa Damba Gumbi Pen, Chewa Dambi Loja Dabashi Cheva, Chewa Damba Gumbi Tu, Saji Doje. Send it into Maneba. Because Jidin the Rindu Maneba, Chewa Jesu Temba Sambas, Telesaji. Chewa Temba Gongi in a pench, Maguna Yemi waters. And then Chewa Temba Gombi Chewa Temba look at this Jewures, Sombaje, Chewa Temba Gombi, Calendona Yamaru, Calendona, to do the Cosi Temba Tower, and the Juventus and all the day.
Tatayan.
Yeah. Calendo is.
So the next section, mindfulness of death. Contemplation that you will not remain long in the world, has four parts. So the first part is the fault of not contemplating mindfulness of death. So the downfalls of the negativities of not familiarizing oneself on the fact that one will die. So not cultivating mindfulness of death. One could say meditating on the reality of death, or familiarizing oneself with the actual that one will actually die. The next is the benefit of such cultivation. So the benefits of familiarizing oneself with death. The kind of mindfulness of death you should develop. So the actual mental state relative to death one should cultivate. So what it should be like, what that mental state should be like. And then how to cultivate mindfulness of death, the actual method, the meditation, what is the actual way to familiarize oneself with death and impermanence. So these are the 4 points that relate to the mindfulness of death. And then Rinpoche said, it's very important that we go over this slowly, so that we will have a very dembochag. We will our understanding will become very stable. It's almost like saying rock solid. Dembochag is like saying rock solid or very firm or very, very stable understanding. If we go slowly through this information, our realization or our understanding of it will be firm and solid. It's really solid, though, the word I'm looking for that Rinpoche used, Dembochag. Very solid.
Jiden de redo mena ba chawa jisu tempa samba so ta mata ba gong go res marba mata ba samba tele ane saji jindo je chawa de ba go bi yemi gong gi ne phen yo res chawa de lu che ta ba chi che ba song je chawa de gong su saji je je ta chawa de ma go bi yemi kar yo res na yemi ta je me chawa de ma go bi yemi saji ji ro ha. So,
in this section we find Lama Tsongkhapa breaks it into the 4 parts. But we find other commentaries where we find 6 points that are made within this section, so we'll follow the commentary that finds 6 points within this section. So we'll go over each of these 6 points.
So we're beginning
with the faults of not contemplating on the mindfulness of death.
다른 식으로 말해 손이 식으로 말해 나니 식으로 말이냐 그것도 저한테만 먹고 그것도 단지래도 말해 단지들 라바다 참니 요레스 단지 라바다 당가서 다른 식으로 말해 손이 식으로 말해 아지 식으로 말해 로지 식으로 말해 어두산 당도서 단지 라바이지 말해 단지 라바 어디 단지 라바 되게 오당가 식으로 말해 되게 상로여도 and nga de dul khamba gugure motor gugure and tsinde ge sangsada kune jewa shema dendo ta thaba ta sanji ko to be ne sanglo yong ma de.
So this first, the fault of not contemplating death, first begins with the negativity of not understanding the impermanence, the fact that one will die. Not believing that one will die today, I won't die tomorrow, it's not going to be the next day, I won't die this year, this isn't... this is a very coarse form of grasping at self. This is the coarse grasping at oneself that then, because one doesn't have this reality that he or she is going to die, then all of the things of this life become of the most significance and the most important. The house becomes the most important. Cars become the most important. Possessions become the most important because the things of this life are all that one is thinking of, because there isn't this reality that one will die. There isn't this realization or this awareness, I guess is the best word, awareness of the fact of death. So this is again a coarse form of grasping at self.
다 저한테만 먹으면 재밌을 때 끝난 가서 example 보자봐이나 아는 가서 다 가만 대대기 상상을 여봐이나
I forgot something.
가만 대대기 나젠다 도면 상을 여봐이나 아는 가만 대네 아는 가만 대는 지 가르고나 대상을 잡아만 두지 젠다 려선 거 말어 당한 그 로마 젠다 질 로이 상로도 코소나 아는 모던 홀로야 모터즈야 안지 도로 누구거나 지상도 코로 어제 선데 연도 말해봐 저와 셔마 처음 답았더니 저와 셔마를 로야가 상로도 코소나 오 당아 던들잖아 타바토네 아분도 산지 고모토네 아분도 상로도 용거 드마데는 데 용거 말았어
So, one thing I forgot from before. So, if one is only focusing on the things of this life, the thought won't occur to look towards next life of a higher realm rebirth or liberation or Buddhahood. If we're only focused on the things of this life. So, it's like, so this is the next. So, it's like someone thinking that he or she will only live in one house forever. This will be the only house that I'm staying in, so there won't be any need to think about moving anything or doing anything whatsoever, because this will be the only house that I'm staying in. But if one is going to leave that house and move into another house, there's going to be various things that he or she is going to have to do. There'll have to be packing that takes place. We'll have to think of a car to be able to get all of the supplies and things from that house to the next house. So there will be arrangements that will have to be made. Likewise, if one recognizes that one is going to die, then one will think about where the next place that he or she will go to will be, and then one will begin to think about the happiness of the higher realms, the happiness of liberation, and the happiness of complete Buddhahood, and what one must do in order to get to that destination. In the same way, if one moves, one has to figure out how to get to that destination and get one's things and so forth to that destination of the new house. If one recognizes death will happen, that new house will be the next future life, and one will then live in a reality of wondering and wishing for those three goals of the higher realm rebirth, or will be able to begin to entertain the thought of a wish for a higher realm rebirth, a wish for liberation, and wish for Buddhahood. So this recognition, this is the fault of not cultivating mindfulness of death, is that one won't think about one's future life, and therefore not think about the happiness of future lives, and happiness again being higher realms, liberation, and Buddhahood. Indeed so. The Jishin of the... so we'll take a short break.
ane taban zemlo de yoba ina ane di nyebu gontu mares taba dru mai ba machina taba dunzing lo nyebu gontu marada mata bal san mena mata be san lo raba yena tanzi rabal ne re mata be chibi chamud lo de yena tanzi chamul ne re taba dru mai be shesuna taba dunzing lo nyebu do tenaji ane mata bal san tang was Matabal Santane and Tanzil Yablu, as a marbe. Now check Marina was only the Yobaina and Mataba Gong Maris, and Tanzing Yabu Gontu Maris, nearby to what things are.
So the first point is grasping at permanence, grasping at this idea, I will not die. So as a result of grasping at this idea of permanence, this idea that one will not die, there won't be a practice of the three pathways. There won't be a practice of the pathways that lead to the higher realms, or the pathways which lead to liberation, or those pathways which lead to complete Buddhahood. So without this recognition of impermanence, the recognition of death, one won't do the things necessary to achieve those future results. And the example that was given before about if one doesn't think they'll ever leave one's house, they won't make necessary plans for the car and so forth to leave to go somewhere else. So that was the first point that's made. If one grasps at one's permanence, then one won't think about the future lives and how to achieve happiness. The second point that's made about grasping at permanence, or grasping at grasping at the fact that one will not die, is that then an antidote will not be applied. So if one doesn't believe he or she is going to die, there won't be an antidote. So here, antidote is referring to truth. The grasping at permanence in its coarse form can only be defeated by meditation upon coarse impermanence. So by meditating upon coarse impermanence, then one is able to root out the mistaken view that grasps at coarse permanence. So the coarse impermanence becomes the meditation upon coarse impermanence becomes the antidote for the mistaken view of grasping at coarse permanence. Likewise, meditation upon subtle impermanence becomes the antidote for the grasping at subtle permanence. Just like the top of the zine glasen ngay tsampalas.
O the top of the sheson drinking lo nyebndo.
So it's
Mataba raba shesona tanzi raba nyebndo. Mataba tama shesona tanzi tama nyebndo.
So it's the same as I just want to make sure the right example I was giving as the example of the rope and the snake. Seeing a rope in a dark room and believing that it's a snake, the only antidote to that is the recognition that it is a rope and that it is not a snake. Likewise, the only antidote to the mistaken view that grasps that permanence, subtle and coarse, is meditation upon its antidote, which is the truth, non-mistaken view of coarse and subtle impermanence. So this is the second point. If one doesn't cultivate the mindfulness of death, then one won't apply a remedy. So the first point is one won't think about one's future life and the three different results of happiness. And then secondly, one won't apply an antidote whatsoever to the grasping at permanence if one doesn't think of death.
Tanziro, Tanga Shagri Nabasalo Kuruna, Nashag Marina with Tanzi to Nunu Marvete, yet dot. What then Naji and then Tamatava Thomas and Tom Natu Jim doing the Matava Thomas to truth you are.
Less so.
Gajimba Gajiba, the Yujan Gila should be in the Jubas, Umajuba Marbe, Umajuba, Gajimba, the Yujans, and Natu Tom Jidu, and then Gajimba is. Gajimba, you are the Kungabal Mot Shuvers, Gadu yours, Gala, Gajimba, you Jan, Gila Shubi de Jubas, Umajuba to Marbe.
Leo?
Somebody in a Kabayan, Umajuba. Gajimba, you Janatu, Tombaji doing the Mataba to true yours, Tombaji, Mataba Shu to Vatan Maris. And then also Tombaji, Shugu Shigre, San Tambaina. Jeba Tomatu and the Sugar Shigro. Madaba the Shebas against the Maris, Nasu Trudune, Nasu Madaba Trudu arrest. Trudu arrest, the Duco, Gajin Bares, Jibal Mot Sugars, Gajin Ban the Yujan, Jila Shubu. What the woman you were quoted, Tamato things on
So I was trying to find the quote from the Madhyamika Avatara, but we're looking at the coarse and subtle impermanence and permanence. The idea that I am not going to die, this is the coarse permanence, this is a coarse form of permanence. The subtle, so coarse permanence, that one is going to die is coarse impermanence. So subtle impermanence, or subtle permanence is referring to the subtle impermanence is referring to that at the moment of generation, the dying process begins, the disintegration process begins. So that the moment there is an arisal, at each moment there is an end in another moment and an end in another moment. So there is almost a death of a moment and an arisal of a moment and a death in a moment and an arisal of a moment. And this is the subtle impermanence, that is the momentary disintegration that is always happening, that the dying begins at the moment of arisal. So this is the subtle impermanence. And I would really like to find the exact quote. If I just have a moment, if I can't find it.
The dead is what the topic is.
Yeah, so it's very similar to. Yeah, I'm not going to find it. Drapo Lobsang in Data Lama.
Gajin ban yue jang seng da nga su tong bu ji du ne ga xin ba res. Yue de yue dang ga xin ba res. Ko ju bun ga no was ma ra. Gajin ban yue jang ji la shu bin de ju bas. Wo de ma da ba cham de yin sa ma ba. Da ma da ba de ko shen de du nga ma da ba ra ba ma ra ba. Wo de da ga de ma da ba ju da ma bu yo ro da bo de sen. Nga chu ji ma da ba yi de she ba yin be je. Gyule cheba imbejer, keji ma imbejer, ta mu san tang ne, umata ro.
So that
and then also show to ta sera ro ando. O da nga shegre, mo mo shin do, na de ga mar san san lo yong ro.
So the coarse impermanence is referring to that actual death, someone actually dies. This is a coarse impermanence. The subtle impermanence is the momentary dying. That's taking place at the moment of arisal, the momentary disintegration. And then there's a quote from the Madhyamika Avatara that speaks of the moment of arisal, something dies and another arisal comes. And again, I'll try to find the quote before the end. So this is the difference between coarse and subtle impermanence.
So I'm going
to die. Many people have died. This is the impermanent, coarse impermanence. This is the gross form of grasping at self. Permanence of self, rather. I'm not going to die today. I will not die. This is this grasping at coarse self. So if we don't think we are going to die, if we have this idea, I won't die, then we won't think of the next life. So if I'm grasping at this self that believes that isn't going to die, then there's no antidote that I will use. I will not apply an antidote if I'm grasping at this self that doesn't die. And thinking that I'm not going to die is, we like thinking that we're not going to die. So then if we like this, if we're thinking in this way, then we will not apply an antidote. We will not familiarize ourselves with a solution. So this is the second of among the 6 points that are made about the faults of not being mindful of death, faults of not cultivating mindfulness of death. Third point. So the third point is that even if an antidote is applied, if this isn't present, then it won't be very powerful. So that if this mindfulness of death isn't present, then there will not. If this grasping at self is present, this lack of mindfulness of death is present, then even if something is applied or a practice is done, it won't be very powerful. Fourth point.
Swani doing the Dunta Jema, then the Lojema, then the Shishu Lelu.
Less so.
Lelu.
So no, the fourth thing is that one will begin to put things off. Well, I can do this next week. I can do this next year. I have time. If there isn't this mindfulness of death, so things will be put off, and one will be able to be very lazy because this awareness will not be present. So one will fall into laziness. Fifth point.
And the Lujile, Nakile, Yijile, Diba Mago, Jutan, Samen Nato to the
So the fifth point is if one has this grasping at this permanent self, then one will not modify his or her behavior, and one will engage in negative actions through one's body, speech, and mind.
Oh, Jita, Tanangaba, the Chadons was Trapachigres. That robot, the Terenjita le Tanzin le.
Oh, that's cool.
Or that robot there is.
The Kashe Jason. So in the fifth point also, Rinpoche spoke of one will not restrain one's body, speech, and mind, and could engage in various negativities such as the irreversible actions or heinous crimes. I just left that out. So I'm sorry. Gonga Mabichi. Ngaba Lapsar.
Ngaba Lapsar. Truba de Marva, Truba de Television Lutanga, Nishu Judan. And the Sama Bangada.
The Jewa Shema, the Dendru Dang, Tarpi Dang, the Nanchen Yomare.
Ore. Nandula Subitunga, Dragon Dembi. Truba de Timber, Truba. Then the tea Mataba Magumi Yamitele and Diba Magua Shichabin wood is.
Okay.
Samangalina, Samangale Shichabin wood is.
Okay.
Diba Magua to Samangale to Shichabaina, the Jabba doing a Shichabin wood is. What is one is a
So the next point is that as a result then of one engaging in these great misdeeds or negativities, there will have a great amount of strength. One's negativities will have a great amount of strength and potential to give rise to the experience of extremely strong amounts of suffering. So this is the sixth point, that the suffering will be very great because of this.
가정에서 주바가도 되려 봐 주바. 텔레장 르당가다 이진년 쇼주당 참매 받다 대단 영화다. 담비 주봉와라 소비 먹어. 먹이래 낸룰라 소비 동안 잡은 데바 셰발라. 투표도 중앙나. 네마르지. 네마르지 되는 디바 시치부 용거 먹어 주셰비치부 용거래. 참매가도 또 시치부 용거래서 What that you did ancient Jitan to
Rasa.
What the Telejan said, Telejan Ludan Gata Yije, Yeshu Jutan, Samabatan, Tata Nyawata, Tambi Chupon. Tata Nyawa said the Donshan Deval Jitevi, the Donshan Devan Sebumudu. Samabangata, Tata Nyawangaji was. So Zawa Jetan Chant was what the Samet and Nyawai.
So we're looking. So here it says, as a result of this, 146 in English, you will do more non-virtuous actions each day, such as the 10 misdeeds of body, speech, and mind, the 5 misdeeds of immediate retribution, and other misdeeds approaching these in gravity. So here. The 5 deeds of immediate retribution are referring to killing one's mother, killing one's father, killing an arhat, drawing blood from a Buddha, and dividing the Sangha, and other misdeeds approaching these in gravity. Rinpoche was saying the 5 hell deeds, which we're looking in the commentary on the Tongsha, the Confession of Downfalls, and it's not very clear, but we could say that this is referring to another list of 5, such as the 5 root vows of refraining from killing, stealing, lying and adultery, and then the secondary fifth of refraining from alcohol. So this is a possibility when we're looking at approaching these gravities that we could be referring to. And the repudiation of the excellent teaching. All of these have the full power to induce strong suffering in places such as the miserable realms. You will sap the life out of high status and certain goodness, etc. So I'm going to stop there because I hate Rinpoche didn't go on.
Palang sheba jeba beme palang sana kyo marbe palang sheba sana chudun kul be burbe kul be chudun palang sheba jeba beme kul wami jeba palang sheba jeba beme da kusung tuden shi de so ba ngasa o tande ja je do ji jina o tande yin sigre.
So in the Kala Chakra Tantra, there are 5 negativities that so killing a cow. Killing a cow is the first one. So it also might be Rinpoche saying killing a child. Killing a man or woman. Getting rid of some objects, gusum, of the statues or images of enlightenment, any kind of getting rid of images of enlightenment. So we find that maybe this is what it's referring to, similar to the heinous crimes. So I was just looking for those specifics. So if one does not have this mindfulness of death, then one's negativities will be very heavy and very great. One's negativities of one's body, speech, and mind, the 10 non-virtues and so forth, as well as the 5 deeds of immediate retribution, or the 5 hell deeds, or 5 extreme negativities just spoken of. So all of these types of negativities will be of great power.
So then one won't like to apply an antidote to these things if one doesn't have the mindfulness of death and is engaging in negativity such as the 10 non-virtues or the 5 deeds of immediate retribution, or it says approaching these in gravity, the 5 hell deeds Rinpoche is mentioning. So one will not apply a remedy to these things if one isn't mindful of it, of death. So they will have great power. So then if one doesn't apply this remedy to the 10 non-virtues of the 5 deeds of immediate retribution, or those negativities of the hell deeds, then they will have the full power to induce this full amounts of suffering, very powerful amounts of suffering, and then one won't be able to achieve rebirth in the higher realms, liberation or Buddhahood. One will not be able to achieve high status or certain goodness. So then
if one has this very strong grasping at self, permanent self, then one engages in these negativities and then is very forcefully born into the lower realms of suffering, or forcefully experiences the lower realms of suffering. Rapa. Rapa Tramo. Okay. Bless you.
Cheda in the co Sau Sati Salasul Onju Dabores Solo Onjures Saul Onjo Inde Yamba the Rama Bashin Ware and the Eda Rama Bashin Ware the late on Judas Meshato the Gaza Sala Satin and the Sala Hadu Hadu late on Yombe
Gonjo. So here, so I'm going to continue to read. The full power to induce in the lower realms. You will sap the life out of high status and certain goodness by decreasingly distancing yourself from the remedies, the nectar of the well-spoken teachings. Then death will overcome you, and bad karma will lead you into a hot and unpleasant place among the strong and harsh sufferings of the miserable realms. What process could be worse than that? And then we have a quote from Arya Deva's 400 stanzas, or 400 verses. What could be more dangerous than to sleep as though at ease while subject to the Lord of Death, ruler of the three worlds, himself without a master? So here, the Lord of Death, there is when we look at the Four Noble Truths, the truth of suffering and the truth of origin, and under the truth of origin, there is karma that is origin and afflictions that are origin. So the karma and the afflictions are the origin or the cause of death of the three worlds. So the death itself, and the three worlds here are referring to the worlds below the ground, the worlds on the ground, and the worlds above the ground. So the worlds below the ground are referring to the lower realms of the hell, hungry ghost, and animals. The on the ground referring to humans, and above the ground referring to the gods. So all beings in all of these three realms are subject to a death that is imposed by their karma and afflictions. So The Lord of Death here is referring to the karma and the afflictions that give rise to the experience of the death. And here it says the Lord of Death. While subject to the Lord of Death, ruler of the three worlds, himself without a master. So here it's just saying that all beings in those three realms just mentioned are subject to death because of the origin of karma, origin, which is karma that is origin, and afflictions that are origin. And those forcefully cause one's death in all of those cases.
Rani said again, later Numobate, Numoba Susu Julce, Luigi Debata, Nagi Deba, Higdeva, Sususaboros, Sususabaris, Chedat, Sususabaris.
Oh, I see.
Rani said.
So here, without a master, because we ourselves are the ones who accumulate this. There's no other. Without a master is because we ourselves accumulate these negativities. So there's no external master of this. It's an internal master that is killing us, basically. That's a looser translation, but it's the meaning of it. It's an internal master that's killing us. It's internal karma and afflictions that are killing us, that kill us. We are the ones who accumulate our misdeeds, our non-virtues. Others don't accumulate these things for us. There is no external master. There's no external lord it's. We don't have to look further than the karma and the afflictions and the accumulation of misdeeds when we're trying to find where this comes from. There's no external source. It's ourselves, our internal. So in Basu Chuji Jeltsen's commentary, he speaks of three things. One, that the Lord of the Death comes from the Somyanja Surna, the Ni Yene Chik Jason. Chedaten later Nyomobatake, later Nyomobatake, Jiden Sula Nawa Juris, Tambuchi. Then Rani said again, later Nyomobat Susu Zubaramatu, Jendaji Zugoyomaris, Rani Zubaris, Nebache. Somebody later Nyomobat Sukalo, Jendaji Nyomuchi, Dibasa Lagayomaris, Shebu Jenda Yomaris. Oh, other than Shebu Mess. Okay. So the 3 points that are made in Basu Chuji Jeltsen's text is that the arisal of this is because of the karma and afflictions that are origin. So the arisal of, it says, while subject to the Lord of Death, all beings of those three realms, everyone is subject to death, everyone who has karma and afflictions. So this is in Basu Chuji Jeltsen's commentary. So those who have karma and afflictions are subject to the Lord of Death, and we ourselves are the ones who create this negativity. We are the ones who have the karma and the afflictions and accumulate the misdeeds. There is no external creator of these things. And then the third point is that there isn't another source other than what we're speaking of. So it is only the specific source that we're speaking of, the source of the karma and the afflictions. There isn't some other point that can be made as to how this death process takes place. So first is that it's the karma and the afflictions. The second is that there isn't any other, no one can accumulate them for us. And then the third is that there isn't any other way in which it takes place. So these are the 3 points that are made. That death takes place, that there's no other way in which death takes place, and we're the only ones who can accumulate it, and it's our karma and afflictions that give rise to it. So we all have this Lord of Death. So if we all have this and know this, then why would we be a fool to sleep or to not pay attention to us? It would be a fool knowing this. If we all have the Lord of Death, we all have this. It would be a fool to sleep. So we should see that it says what could be more dangerous than this, because we are subject, we're all going to die, and we can experience the rebirth of the lower realms of suffering, so this is dangerous because of what can happen when we die. So to sleep or to not heed or not pay attention is dangerous because we're all subject to death, and we can be reborn into the lower realms of suffering. So we have to then look at, when we look at this word Lord of Death, we can look at another word that is similar in that in the hell realm there's the guardians of hell, in the story of Buddha where the guardian hit him on the head. So there's this guardians of the hell realm. So then we have to posit the question, is this guardian of the hell realm that is being spoken of a sentient being, not sentient being, I'm sorry, kansak, is a person. And if it is a person, is it a hell realm being, or is it another realm being? So we have to question whether, when we're speaking of a guardian of hell, if it's similar to what is being spoken of here when we speak of the Lord of Death, the guardian of hell. So it's just once again, translator's note, Rinpoche is posing a question, and he said scholars debate about this. If the hell guardians that are spoken of are similar to what it means, the Lord of Death means, an internal, or if it is an actual external being or not. Iron. So the Buddha stated what created the molten irons in hell. The molten irons, in hell there's the desa, the place is full of molten iron. So what created this molten iron of hell? Who was the builder of this molten iron? And the Buddha answered by stating that the mind full of misdeeds creates the molten iron hell. And in the hot hell, there is one particular hell that is a molten iron, it's molten iron, molten iron. And Buddha stated that a mind of misdeeds creates this. The Buddha stated that all of the 3 realms were created by a mind. A negative mind created the lower realms, and positive mind creates the higher realms. There's a lot here to know. So when we look at this, there's a lot to know, because when we look at even 400 verses, we see this Lord of Death, and we immediately think a person or a being, but we're referring to the karma and afflictions when we are referring to Lord of Death. It's not an actual being.
지자베 와 칸란지된 송가다라니 체다시부 메스 건데 체다데 레도 뇨모 군줄잖아 야고로데.
So this chitta, this lord of death, are the karma and afflictions that are origin. This is what makes us die. This is the lord of death. This is death. Karma and afflictions give rise to that. And then there's a quote now from the Bodhichara Avatara, guide from Bodhisattvas.
Shunjule, Taji Buddha Chagubara, Dagita Machines, Nashine, Tamajat, Ruguaris, Ruguat Susu Majibaris, Dagita Machine, Zata Mazatush, Susu Gabitan, Trubutan, Trubukundal Deba Musa, Drytundal Deba Musabaris, what is it, Marbe?
So here a quote from Shantideva's engaging in the Bodhisattva deeds. I will have to depart, leaving everything. But not knowing this, I have committed various sins for the sake of friends and foes. So I will have to depart. I will have to die and leave all of my things. I'll have to leave my house. I'll have to leave my cars. All of the things I've accumulated will be left behind. But because there isn't this mindfulness of death, because of not thinking of death, I have committed various sins for the sake of friends and foes. So I've engaged in various non-virtuous activities, influenced or with our friends, influenced with or in relation to our friends and enemies and neutrals. So I have created all of these things because of not being mindful of death. So this is the meaning behind that. So this is a downfall of not being mindful of death. So this quote here is showing a downfall of the faults of not cultivating mindfulness of death. This is a supporting stanza. So we have a few minutes left, maybe for a couple of questions, or we can just end, whichever like. Does anyone have any questions?
What's the threefold path on this? Am I allowed to ask questions from this?
If I'm prepared to
I just found it over here, and so I just read it, and it said,
okay.
Illuminating the threefold path. This is the title. Invoking of seven eliminating the threefold path. I was just
Rinpoche, the Nalanda Kepa, the Molam, the Nala Sol Deb, Te Sum, the Sum Garre, Sum Garre, Garshine Sum, Toga, the Sum, the Sum Garre.
Sunday Sum says she showers.
The Sum Garre.
Sunday Sum say
the Lam Sum, NGK Lam Sum. Lam Dang Drapudu, Lam Sum.
Sunday Tesum Low, Tesum,
Tepa Sum.
Tayu Teba, Eji Teba, Mundu Tebas. And Sunday to know, and Tajamun Kuno Tibota. 정으로 미칠 나네자 케바술래 다이 대바 요아레 문데지 대바 요아레 안에 예시 대바 요로
테바숨
다송 세지스 대송 세지 아 나네자 벤데다 도속이 데 예테 버쳇 루바이나 나네자 케바술 다이 대바 용그레스 추 담아나지 대바 담아 용그레스 근데 뭔데지 대바 용거스 뭔데 타고 도와고 돼봐 타 사담에 대한 도와고 돼봐 사지고 도와고 돼봐 용거스 뭔데 돼봐도 말봐 고추에 대한 나중 알고 그거 누구냐 대봐 용거보다 뭐버 돼봐 근데 이시 대봐 말봐 안나는 저 개바도 중에 대주는 말로 줄래 안나 개바도 줄 이체가 그러다 이체 이체 대봐 대봐 숨도 대봐 숨
So this is these are referring to the three types of faith. The Dalai Lama wrote this kind of to venerate, because of his admiration for these Nalanda scholars. Where can I see? I'm sorry, I haven't even looked at this. So here it says illuminating the threefold faith. The threefold faith is referring to three divisions of faith, and I'm just looking for the exact. Just give me a second. There are three divisions of faith, and I just don't want to give you the wrong. So one is a faith that comes from looking at the excellent qualities of the Nalanda scholars and so forth, and developing a faith in them from because of realizing their excellent qualities. Daintepa.
And then when they debasana, that Nalenda Keba to the Pimisi and the Chivareja, then I did Nalichunanya with only Maberdova.
So the next is this aspiration, this faith of aspiration that wishes to achieve the same sort of results that they have done, the same sort of realizations or results. So the next is an aspiring faith. So the first is the faith that comes from looking at the excellent qualities, and the next is an aspiring faith to wish to be like that. There it is. Okay, so the first is Dawa, which is the faith, the aspect of clarity. Dawa, that was the one where
clean water.
And then the next is Yiche, and that is referring to conviction. And then Dutta is a wish to attain, so a desire to attain. So it's as the faith which has these are the names of the three types of faith. Faith as the aspect of clarity, and then faith that has conviction, and faith that has a wish to attain. So these are the three types of faith. So the clarity is clarity of here it's in this, it's just clarifying what the three jewels are. So the excellent qualities of the scholars and the results of the paths and so forth. So this is the clarifying faith that Rinpoche just spoke of. The conviction faith is gaining conviction in what was taught in the doctrine and the path itself. So the first is the clarity is understanding, and then one is gaining a conviction in what one has understood. And then the next type of faith, the wish to attain, is just as it becomes a liking for it and a wish to achieve a liking for it, which creates a wish to achieve what one has learned. So I'm sorry it took me a moment to go through it, but those are the three types of faith. And if anybody's interested, it's all broken down in Meditation on Emptiness.
Got it.
We're going to put this prayer into the prayer book, the praise to by His Holiness to the 17 Nalanda scholars, into the prayer book. So those are the things. So faith with the aspect of clarity, faith of conviction, and a wish to attain. So the clarity is understanding, the conviction is believing it, and then the wish to attain is clear, wishing to attain. So these are the three faiths, and this is the threefold faith at the top of the $1 sheet. We have the explanations, and then if we don't know of something, then in the future we can go over it again, and you can ask a question. So as we go over these things, if there's something that's not known, either you'll learn it later or you can ask a question about it.
Yeah.
So we'll do the concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer. I thank everybody for their patience, and I encourage everybody whenever there's a quote that I can't find. The texts are all in English and readily available, and the Chandrakirti text is translated in by a couple of different authors. And it goes. There's a couple of quotes in it about momentary arisal and disintegration. So I'm not sure exactly which one it is. So we'll have to look through it. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure land. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Lobsang Drakpa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra as well, with whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the three times. I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. All-powerful Avalokiteshvara Tenzin Gyatso, may you say until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wandak, upholder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts with exceptional wisdom and perseverance. Tujiram Shikutsi Shapi Denona.